Welcome to the WED Pro podcast, the podcast for WED pros no matter their stage. We are your hosts, Katie and Roxy, and this is the WED Pro podcast. Welcome back to the WED Pro podcast. I'm Roxy and I'm here with the beautiful and brilliant Katie. And today we are diving into a topic that can really make or break your online presence, and that is your contact page.
Ah, what a lovely introduction. Yeah, it's one of the last places that kind of couples see before they decide whether or not to reach out to you. And let's face it, right? Our dream clients, those couples, have probably got a million tabs open looking at a few different wedding suppliers. If your contact page is not optimized, they can easily just move on and you've lost a lead. So today we're going to be giving you 5 essential tips to make sure your contact page is seamless, inviting, and it's most importantly providing that high converting experience.
I like what you said there about having a million tabs open, because I know someone like that, actually.
Feeling called out.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is having forms on your website versus just having an email link. And this is something really simple yet so often overlooked, and that's just using a form and not just linking in to email you. And why is that such a game changer?
Well, imagine you're a couple, right? And you're clicking through websites, usually on your phone. You find a photographer or a venue you love and you click contact us. And instead of a form, you're redirected to your email app. And if you're anything like me, you probably don't even have an email app set up on your phone. I know I don't have it set up for me to be able to just click that link and email. And I definitely don't have it set up on my laptop because I've got 3, maybe 4 email addresses for business as well. So, I would be one of those people that would definitely be logged into a different account. You might think I'll come back and do this later, but then life happens and you absolutely forget.
I've actually had this happen to me personally. Like, I have pressed that button and it's opened this oh, I don't know what to do now. So then you close it and then that's it. You've probably lost them. Like, they have gone. And on top of that as well, using a form helps you track where your leads are coming from, which is essential for any WED Pro running ads or using analytics, which you should be using. With a form, you can directly attribute the lead to a specific source, like whether they've come from an Instagram ad or Facebook. If they're opening up on a separate email app, you'll lose that tracking ability.
Yeah, and let's talk about the automation opportunities as well. With a form, you can automatically trigger a follow-up sequence, maybe a thank you email. You can put them into your email CRM or segment leads based on how that form has responded and how that person has responded in that form. It's really efficient and a really easy way for you to be able to engage leads right from the start. And you can put in processes when you are just using Gmail or maybe another email provider that isn't set up like an email marketing provider or a CRM. They'll send the email and then they will have to wait for you for a direct response, or they're getting your out of office or your auto reply. And quite often that auto reply, I know, we get a lot of them from wedding businesses when we send out emails. We get a lot of auto replies. I would say 99.9% of them are not set up for conversion, and we'll have to do that on another episode. But
that's a whole nother topic.
That autoresponder off, tweak it so that it's geared up for conversion. And if you're somebody that is just sharing your email address, which yes, potentially does have a link that would open an app or Gmail or wherever it is, just consider that actually that's not trackable for you as a business. So you don't know where those leads are coming from, what their journey's been prior to them sending that email to you. And secondly, as well, it may not even open in the way that you intend, and then you're going to lose that lead.
So now let's talk about the design. So you might think a form is just a few boxes and a button, but there's a lot of psychology and strategy involved when designing your forms. What's the first thing that comes to mind for you, Katie, when designing forms for websites?
Absolutely. Keeping it simple and clean is key. You want to have clear, visible labels for every field. So that is the labels above the box. So none of the placeholder text that disappears when you start typing. it only leads to confusion. Make each field in your form, so each little box inside your form, really obvious as to what your prospect needs to give you, what information they should be sharing with you, and easy to navigate, especially on mobile. Most of your clients are probably going to be using their phones, so you need to design that in mind and have on your contact page, have either the form or a link that goes straight to the form, which would be like an anchor point that when people click that, it takes them to the form above the fold. So above the fold means before I have to scroll. So you want either that call to action for them to fill in the form or the form to be visible prior to the fold on your phone as well.
And good point there about what you said about most people will be doing this on their mobile. So they're going to be using their hands and their fingers to press things. So don't forget about the tappable areas. Your potential clients are going to be using their thumbs to tap through. So make sure the buttons and fields are big enough to easily click without zooming in and having to do any of that faffing about. And if you have options like, how did you hear about us questions, try using checkboxes and things like that instead of drop downs. Yeah, I get really frustrated when I've got to try and, you know, zoom in to press things, and it winds me up.
Yeah, and the drop down is usually quite tiny. It's quite a tiny little button to kind of have to click. So having those checkboxes is just much easier. So another really small but powerful design trick is just to align everything vertically. It's going to be easier on the eye for your clients and makes that form feel less overwhelming. You know, if you have things on the left-hand side of the screen and the right-hand side of the screen, just think about that user experience. The fewer the barriers, the higher your chance of getting them to click that submit button.
And also make sure it fits in with your brand. Your form should feel like an extension of the rest of your website. If you have a playful, light-hearted brand, make the form really reflect that. Add a bit of personality to your questions or the text on your submit button. Don't be afraid to make it fun and really continue that tone of voice throughout every part of the form.
I think in terms of like your contact page and the form, I often look at it like as a mini website on its own. Like quite often this is like the page that people go, like, and quite often, yes, it can be the last place they visit in terms of them clicking submit and sending you that inquiry. But quite often it can be the first place they land on, especially if they've come from like Instagram, for example, and they've clicked in that link in bio. So really look at it as if it could be somebody looking at your brand with fresh eyes, not had any impression of your business before. And we know that people make very quick first impressions. Okay, let's get on to form placement. Where on the page should the form go, Roxy?
Think of it this way. Your contact page is the closer of your website. Your goal is to guide visitors through your story, from showcasing your work to giving them details about your service. The form should come at the end after they've seen everything that you have to offer.
Exactly. That way they're going to be really fully engaged before they reach that form. So having that form at the bottom of the page, but remembering to have that button earlier on so that it can take them straight to the anchor point, allows you to just give potential clients all they need to be excited and ready to reach out. And exactly what we said there about building it and thinking of it like its own mini web page. Don't be afraid to put reviews in, have a snapshot of your services, have a gallery there showcasing some of your best work, and really just think of it as building your clients up in terms of taking them through a journey nice and quickly to then be completing that page, that form. To then be completing that form.
A great call to action title here can also make a massive difference as well. Instead of just the plain old boring, contact us, try something a little more personal and a bit more on brand. Like, for example, and this is not the best example ever, let's plan your dream wedding together. Really sets, you know, you can set the tone and align it with what they are looking for. With these kinds of phrases, really think about your ideal client and what they would relate to.
And your brand as well. So yeah. I've actually been looking over a few contact forms this week, hence the topic for the website, for the podcast today. So I've been looking over photographers, contact forms, and a wedding live painters contact forms over the week. And I really wanted to put this podcast together in terms of things that I see. But yeah, making that button really on brand, you know, let's talk about your wedding vision together, make that first step to bringing your wedding dream alive, something that's just a little bit more exciting. I liken this to the phrase that I absolutely hate in the wedding industry: congratulations on your wedding. It's just seen everywhere. And like we said before, your couples are likely checking out 3, 4, 5, 6 different people who all do what you do. And, you know, things that grab your attention, make a difference, really do make a difference. Something different really does make that difference for you. Okay, before we jump into the next tip, we wanted to just remind everybody about WEDCON. It's happening on November the 20th at Old Palace Chester, and you really won't want to miss it. We've put together an amazing day packed with incredible speakers, hands-on training, and networking opportunities.
Yes, this is going to be the wedding industry event of the year. Imagine learning from the best, connecting with like-minded wedding pros, and walking away with strategies that will propel your business forward into 2025. And we've got so many amazing speakers lined up to help you with everything from sales to marketing to branding and everything in between, really.
And we'll be there, of course, hosting some sessions and ready to meet all of you lovely people. Tickets are selling quickly, and they're actually going to be going off sale at the end of October. So please don't wait to get yours. Trust us, you don't want to hear about all the amazing things you missed. Be in that room.
Yeah, do not get FOMO. Head over to the link in the show notes now to grab your ticket and join us for a day of inspiration, knowledge, and growth. We cannot wait to see you there. All right, back to contact page tips. This one is all about fine-tuning the form fields. Katie, what should wedding professionals consider when deciding which fields to include?
So it really depends on kind of your lead volume and how many leads you're getting and the quality you're seeing of those leads. If you're getting a ton of inquiries, but maybe they aren't your ideal clients, adding more specific fields can help you to qualify your leads coming through. For instance, you might add a field for their estimated budget, preferred dates, number of guests, etc. And that's going to help you to filter out inquiries that just are not a good fit for your services.
But on the other hand, if you're struggling to get inquiries in the first place, simplify it. Keep it to the basics. Your name, email, and maybe one open-ended question where they can share a bit about their event. The easier it is to fill out, the more likely they are to complete it.
And this is where autofill comes in as well. Make sure your form supports it. It's a tiny detail, but actually it makes the experience run much smoother. And I'm sure you can think of a time where you've gone to buy something online and it automatically pulls everything through for you. Or maybe you're signing yourself up to an email list and it automatically just pulls through your email address and your name. That's exactly the same for your clients. When people don't have to manually type out that information, you reduce the effort involved and they're more likely to submit that form to you.
And let me tell you from a accessibility point of view as well, from someone who is dyslexic, this for me is a literal game changer. I love that I can just go on a form and like, oof, there's my information. It's already in there. Saves me so much time, so much brain space, not even have to think about it. So
you just came up with a really good point there, because actually quite often we're in our email marketing and we have like zaps and triggers that run, and quite often zaps will get bounced back to us because people have typed in their email address wrong, because it's easy to do, right?
So easy to
especially if you're doing it on a phone, where we've already touched on that actually our fingers are a little bit bigger than the buttons some of the time, especially on smartphones. So it's very easy for people to just type in, you know, make a little bit of a typo, but having that kind of autofill is really going to reduce people who genuinely want to hear back from you, who think that they filled in that form correctly, but just haven't, and then you cannot get in touch with them.
No, that is so true. And as well, it is worth remembering as well that you can always follow up later to get more information. So if you are keeping your form simple, you know, this is just like an initial contact to get them through the door. So don't overwhelm them. Less is often more. You can find out any extra information that you may need a little bit later down the line. This is just like phase 1. This is step 1 in 1 of 6.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we constantly see is wedding businesses want to close like really early on in the process. And one of the things we say is like, slow it down. We're not trying to get to the, to sign on the dotted line 2 minutes after they've sent that form away. Actually, the goal is not to close the wedding. The goal is to get them to the next step. So slow it down. Think about, how do I get them to actually click submit? That's your next step right now. Once you've got that information, you then want to think about the follow-up and setting expectations. So once they've hit submit, don't leave them hanging. The thank you message is something that I don't see enough. It's often an afterthought, but actually it's an opportunity for you to reassure your client that you've received their form and inquiry, and to keep that momentum going with your couple and client. I was at a conference at the weekend, and one of the things that was mentioned at the conference was the time that somebody fills in your inquiry form or reaches out to you is the time when they are most interested in your services. Then what happens is they start to kind of slope down in their levels of interest. And it could be a day or 2 days or 3 days. I would hope it wasn't 3 days, but it could be a little while before you get back in touch with them and reply to that inquiry. Now, you want to keep your prospect as interested as possible in that time. So thinking about this next step, not leaving them hanging, and what you can put in there once they've submitted that form in order to keep their excitement about working with you up. And we've seen this happen massively in kind of our business, haven't we, Roxy, when we've gone into recruitment drives for our business and looking at people who want to come and work for us. They are most interested and most excited about our brand when they hit submit on, that form to work with us. So we want to set up that interview and tell them about the next steps ASAP.
That's it. You do really want to, utilize that. And your thank you message or your confirmation page can make them feel really valued and acknowledged. Don't just say the standard, thanks for reaching out. Tell them what happens next. Let them know that they'll hear back from you and what to expect.
Yeah, so you could say something like, thank you so much for your message. We'll be in touch within 24 hours. In the meantime, feel free to explore our blog or follow us on Instagram or check out this YouTube video for more inspiration. And it's exactly like I just said. It's about keeping them engaged with your brand even after they've submitted that form, so they still feel excited to work with you.
And don't forget about the follow-up email as well. This is where you can really reinforce your brand. Send them a friendly message with a little more info about you. Maybe even include a link to your portfolio or, like recent most ideal clienty wedding or a testimonial. It's a simple touch that goes a long way towards building a relationship with them right from the off.
And don't be afraid to get creative either. One of our photographers that we're working with absolutely
and I love this.
And he does this amazing. You could even include a video message if that aligns with you and your brand. Little touches like that is going to set you worlds apart from other wedding suppliers who literally just have the tiniest little font pop up saying, think about how you can stand out, set that expectation of what it's like to work with you, show them that you are attention to detail orientated and focused. And who at a wedding does not want attention to detail and focus? Detail orientated people involved in their wedding. It's just another way to keep people nice and excited to work with you.
Yeah, so your homework task off the back of this podcast is to go and have a look at your contact page and give it a little audit. Look at it from the point of view of a client who is getting in contact with you, and you'll be surprised at the little things that you tweak can make the biggest of differences.
I think another thing that I mentioned this at WEDCON last year is something that you can do that's nice and simple and easy is you can actually hand over your brand to somebody else. So ask a business owner that you know, or maybe your friend or a relative, and say, give them your Instagram page, give them your website and say, try and get in touch with me and see how long it takes them to be able to get in touch with you. People should be able to go from A to B incredibly easily. People do not want to have to search for that contact button. People don't want to have to search for your form on your website or for ways to reach out to you. Some wedding suppliers that I've seen don't even want DMs, and someone will send a DM and then up pops an autoresponder that says, oh, like, I don't check my DMs, like, so please email me. Like, why do you have that on there? Why do you even have Instagram?
I once, on that note, did a social media audit for someone way back when, and they had in their bio, no DMs, please.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
No, wow, that's just a no. But just thinking in terms of, okay, how easy is it for somebody to reach out? Let's say somebody is really interested and wants to reach out. How many hoops are you making them jump through? How easy is it for me to find your phone number? How easy is it for me to reach out and send you a message? How easy is that form to fill in? And ask a relative or a friend, because we quite often look at our businesses like we look at our babies, right? With rose with rose tinted, and you think it's the most beautiful, perfect thing in the world. And, you know, sometimes it just isn't, you know? So having somebody else just look at it, they're going to see cracks and things inside your process that you potentially won't see. And I say this with absolute love as well, because it's never, ever a completed task. Like, quite often people, you know, we work with business coaches, but also we're kind of in circles with other business people and business coaches. And they can quite often say, somebody told us last week that our Google My Business was down. And I was like, oh my goodness, why? And it was just down, and I hadn't probably checked it in about 2 weeks, and that was like, okay, brilliant, thanks for letting me know. So these things just need, you know, sometimes fresh eyes on them to be able to see.
Definitely.
So we've given you five practical things there that you can go and do to improve your contact forms, because what's the point of having a contact form on your website if you're not being able to get any leads through there? So hopefully you've been able to pick up something really helpful. And exactly like Roxy said, Roxy called it homework. I'm going to call it an action. Have a think about one action that you can take off listening to this podcast today, along with booking your WEDCON ticket, because that's going to be the second thing you're going to do. But think about one action that you could go and do that is going to improve that experience for your clients, to be able to improve your inquiries. And when we improve the number of inquiries that come through to your business, and you don't make sticking points, you are going to improve the number of sales. So
100%.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you for joining us. It was lovely to spend this time with you talking all about contact forms, and we will really look forward to seeing you on the next episode and at WEDCON, which is only in a couple of weeks. So yeah, we'll see you there.
Get your tickets. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wed Pro podcast. Full transcribes of this episode, plus every other episode we have done, are available at www.theweddingbusinesshub.com/blogs. Thanks so much for listening. If you do have any questions about this episode or anything else at all, you can email us at info@theweddingbusinesshub.com. And if you are loving our episodes, which I know you are, make sure you hit the subscribe or follow button so you can stay updated with any new episodes that land. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.